What's up, y'all? This your girl Jay Renee with Prison Ride Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This evening, we're going to talk to a brother that's in Tennessee. His name is Rivera Peoples. And we're going to discuss some of the revelations that we've been finding out about Tennessee. It's not new to them. It's not new to some of y'all, but it's definitely new to me and some of the listeners. So we want to definitely make sure that we continue to put this information out because knowledge is power. So we're going to jump right into it. All right, good evening, bro. Thanks for pulling up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we can tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into it. So tell them a little bit about yourself, where you from.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Rivera Peoples. I'm behind enemy lines. I'm a political prisoner, but behind enemy lines in the state of Tennessee. I was arrested when I was 18 years old, and I was sentenced to life plus 100 years for the conduct of another person. In Tennessee, we got a law. They got a law in the books that can hold you accountable for the conduct of another person. So,
yeah, it's a few states that have that.
Yeah.
But they don't do it to the police officers. Ain't that some shit? But that's another conversation. But So I got this article that I read. I'm going to let the people know the name of it. I'm going to include the link so y'all will be able to read it for yourself. But the title is, it's from Tennessee Lookout, okay? And it says, How Core Civic Stands to Benefit as Tennessee Pushes Harsher Prison Sentences. I definitely think y'all should read it yourselves, even though we're going to talk about it, because it's a lot of information that y'all want to be able to just have at your fingertips. So let's get into it, bro. Over the last couple of weeks, man, we've been hearing more and more about Tennessee. And when I read this article, man, just some of the stuff in there, just like the increased sentences and stuff like that, it's just crazy. So let's jump into it. So let's talk about your knowledge on the subject.
Yeah, so this one thing that I would like to point out first. So in the state of Tennessee, black people make up 18% of the population down here in the state of Tennessee. However, we make up 42% of the prison population in the state of Tennessee. Tennessee have a super Republican majority, just like most of these southern states. So the state of Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee, he's a Republican. The House and the Senate are also very red Republican. So they have these contracts and these agreements with the private prison company, Core Civic. And with this contract and this agreement, they have a capacity, a prison bed guarantee that the state of Tennessee have guaranteed this prison company a certain amount of inmates will be inside this facility, and if not, we'll pay you anyway. So that's a hot topic within itself down here in the state, because they're doing business with a private prison company and they're not investing in the citizens down here that need that investment the most, which lead us to these prisons being filled to capacity based on their contractual agreements.
Yeah, I was about to say that sounds like something that should be illegal to be able to do that. You know what I mean? To pretty much say, okay, we're going to make sure that you have these amount of bodies in there, because to say that means that they got to be put there. And it's kind of like by any means necessary. I can assume, because most people are not trying to give out free money, talking about we're going to pay you anyway. They ain't trying to do that. So,
well, especially tax money. It's not just free money; it's taxpayers' dollars, and now the taxpayers are paying for these prisons to be filled instead of paying to have crime prevention measures. Right? We could prevent a lot of these crimes in Tennessee. I've been in prison since I was 18, and most of the people that's coming in, they're not really criminals, though. They're 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds who made a terrible mistake, and the state have capitalized off of mistakes that people have made at a young age when their brain is not fully developed. Yeah, so I brought up the super majority in Tennessee for a reason, right? We have a House Speaker down here in the state of Tennessee. His name is House Speaker, or his name is Cameron Sexton, and he was pushing a bill down here in the state of Tennessee. It's called the Truth in Sentencing Bill, which the state will remove any good time credits, anything that's incentive based for a person to get out of prison early or make parole or anything. So during a press conference, he was asked by a reporter, like, when will we have a conversation about crime prevention? When will we discuss about things that will prevent crime? And he said, well, that's a conversation for another year. And for him to say that, it just struck a chord with me, because I'm trying to figure out, why would there be a conversation for another year? When you prevent crime, you prevent victims. And then I kind of did some research, and I realized, well, he's receiving large campaign contributions from Core Civic, which is a private prison. So, in order for him to prevent crime, that would be prevent profit from the company that's supporting his campaign. So,
right, and they're trying to make money, right? So, I want to give y'all a little insert of this. All right, this is a quotable from the same article that I quoted in the beginning. It says, in 2022, the Tennessee legislators passed a truth in sentencing bill. That's what the brother was just talking about. A sweeping law that essentially rewrote sentencing practices in the state, requiring people to serve, in some cases, up to 10 years longer. So that would be highly beneficial, right? To have people in there longer so they continue to get the money for them people. And I'm sure, is Tennessee one of the states that prisons make things that go out into the community?
Tennessee have a lot of subcontracts with these private companies like Tricor and wood plants. So yeah, we one of them states where they're profiting off our labor here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, bro. So, what else you want to talk about when it comes to this? Because they did a couple of things in 2022. I know you're probably more familiar with the 3-strike bill that's requiring even harsher sentences and stuff. Like, what do you know about that?
So in Tennessee specifically, right? The United States is dealing with a mass incarceration problem, but specifically in Tennessee, there has been a money trail. There's been a trail laced with money, and it's going to these politicians. And they use the word propaganda. They use smoke screens a lot. To show a lot of black young men mugshots on these local news stations, and they're making it seem like, well, these people are dangerous. However, they don't discuss the conditions that these young men are coming from, the broken homes, the lack of education. So even with the 3 strikes and everything they're doing with this this justice system, what they would call a justice system, it's just it's a disgrace to the individuals out there that's paying all these taxes and not aware of what's going on. In Tennessee, they give so many corporate tax breaks to these corporations, and so it's just like going on with these prisons, right?
Let me ask you, how old are you?
I'm 34. I just turned 34.
Okay, I asked because I was trying to gauge your age so I could ask you if you remember back when Joe Biden, before he was president, you know what I mean, he was very much in politics, and he's one of the reasons why we have these harsh laws, you know what I mean, and differences in our laws when it comes to different communities. I'm just gonna put it out there. That's what it is. And one of the things that he said was he didn't care why these people were doing bad and why they needed money. So it just goes hand in hand with what you just said about. I
think he called them super predators too, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe Biden and all these politicians, right? They play on our ignorance. They play on the fact that we caught up with paying our bills, keeping our bills paid, trying to survive out here in the world that's created by these policies and these laws. So yeah, we wearing really bad down here in Tennessee. It's a political. It's so many young men in prison that's looking at 30, 40, 50 years for a crime that possibly could have been prevented had the legislator took the time or the care enough to even just try to invest in these inner city communities where most of these young men are coming from. And they know this, right? This is not a secret. This is not something that we're not aware of. We know who's filling these prisons.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that's a trend across America, you know. And it's definitely, it's not shown how it should be shown for people to understand. You're right about trying to, you know, play on people's fears and things like that. That's how they get in these offices. I was at this event yesterday where I found out about Wisconsin. They got like the Supermax prison, and they didn't even need it. But how it got built was the guy that was running at the time wanted to seem real tough on, you know, crime, but they didn't even have a high crime rate. And then once they filled it up, people with the same charges but different demographics, they would send the black and Latinos to the Supermax prison, which was shown to be driving people insane, okay? And the people that didn't look like us and wasn't Hispanic or whatever, they got to go to medium custody or something like that with the same type of charges. So it's definitely a difference. So what else you got, bro? What else you want to talk about?
So I wrote a book. I just published a book from prison. It's called Power versus Poverty. I'm discussing a lot of the conditions that I have experienced in my life. Growing up in poverty, my mom was addicted to drugs. My dad was incarcerated. Similar to a lot of the youth that we experienced, a lot of the same things. So yeah, in my 15 years of being in prison, I bounced around from several. So I ended up. And if you Google it, if you put in Trousdale, it's a private prison. And it's ran operated by the Core Civic. So this is another.
It got you breaking up, bro. You breaking up bad. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah. So like in my prison, during my prison stay in Tennessee, I ended up going to a private prison. It's called Trousdale, and I would love for you to just Google the prison Trousdale. It's known to be one of Tennessee's most dangerous prisons. And while I was down there, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I noticed that nobody cared. But I started noticing it was mostly blacks and young black males, so nobody never cared, right? So I ended up writing a book, and a lot of people tried to discourage me, like, bro, why you writing a book? Nobody reading books. And I said, that's the problem right there. So yeah, I wrote a book. It's called Power versus Poverty. It's very informative. It's very descriptive. I got pictures in there. It's at least 6 or 7 deceased bodies in my book, and I wasn't flying any I wasn't trying to get any clout out of the deceased, but I did want to show how the prisons cover up murders. They use legal jargon. They lie. They do everything, right? You feel me? Similar to what they did in the George Floyd case, right? We was told several things about George Floyd until the video came out. The police report was not accurate. Correct. And that's the same thing that's going on inside these facilities, right?
Yeah, it is. The police, it's like, who polices the police? Because just because somebody is a police, a correctional officer, or whatever, even judges and lawyers, doesn't mean that they aren't corrupted. Because everybody's still human beings. Now, they don't have the privilege to be so, but that doesn't mean they aren't. And I think that it's easy for us to see because we're either dealing with the situations or in the fight to know what the issues are. So us bringing awareness to it is of the utmost importance. Let people know how they can find your book.
The book is available everywhere. It's available on Amazon, it's Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, anywhere where books are sold. And again, it's called Power versus Poverty. It's an amazing book.
Okay, for sure. I'm going to have to get me one. I'm going to have to add it to our library. I know we ain't got too much longer, bro, but I want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think that the people should know?
I can only reiterate what I'm sure a lot of your guests is already familiar with, and that's the numbers, right? The numbers don't lie. The statistics have been what it have been for a long time, and now that we're living in an informational world, it's not hard to find the information. The Washington Post have reported years ago that 1 in every 3 black males born in this country can expect to go to prison in their lifetime. Had there been any other race, any other group, any other cultural group, that would have been a national emergency. But because it was happening to young black males, it just went on as business as usual, and our politicians have found a way to profit off of it, not prevent it, but profit off of it. And I think that's something that we should look at more morally, right? We should take a look at, and it's also, we have a responsibility on ourselves, but information, get familiar with what's going on, and find out how these crimes that's been prevented, that's not being prevented, is also impacting the law-abiding citizens out there, the people that's just trying to do right and survive out there. They're becoming victims because people are out there trying to survive.
Yeah, that's for sure, bro. That's a topic of discussion all in itself too, you know. And even though the government needs to step in and do something, we got to make sure that we invest in our communities as well, right? Just because if we know better, we do better. That don't mean just move and forget about the hood you came from or forget about people. We got to make sure that we pour back into our communities the common sense that we've learned along the way, advantages, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. I always say the children are the future, and they are. Like, what we still instill in our children go a long way, man, and it's going to set the course of the future.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate you very much, bro, for pulling up on us. I always give people an opportunity to, you know, address the listeners, drop some gems and stuff like that. And also, if you want to be contacted, let people know how to do that.
Well, yeah, my family and I, we started a website. It's justiceforrivera.com. We have some amazing things going on there. Very informational. I'm big on fighting for unity, right? I'm big on unity. So, for the listeners and everyone who's taking interest in your podcast and the platform that you have presented to the voiceless, right? We just ask that people continue to not just hear these stories and just walk away like it's just another story, but inquire and just understand this could have easily been you, your brother, your cousin, someone. You maybe your best friend from kindergarten or third grade is sent to riding in one of these prisons that was built and designed to do exactly what it's doing, right? So, yeah, that's what we had. We had a pivotal time in our life, and history will judge these times right now. It's very close to genocide. It's lawful genocide, if you ask me.
For sure. It is. You said it's Justice for Rivera. Are we spelling out the word 4 or is the number 4?
It's the number 4. It's Justice, the number 4, Rivera, RIVERA.com.
Alright. Yeah,
and it's also on Google. I've been doing a lot. I've been doing as much as I could to push this movement. So yeah, you can Google who is Rivera Peoples. It'll talk about my case and my conviction, life plus 100 years, the book. So it's no more excuses. We got to inform ourselves. We got to educate ourselves.